6 things I wasted my life chasing, just to belong. Asterisk, I spent most of my life trying to be someone people would like. Not love, just let me in the room, smile when I walk in, nod when I speak. I didn't need applause, I wasn't chasing fame. I just wanted to feel like I belonged somewhere, to someone. That who I was, as I was enough to be part of something. And I thought the way to get there was to become whatever people needed me to be. It started small. A different laugh here, a more polite silence there. Agreeing with things I didn't believe in just to avoid the awkwardness. Pretending I wasn't hurt when I clearly was, because I thought being easy to deal with made me worthy of keeping around. I shaped myself like clay, soft and willing, just to fit into molds I didn't even like. It's a quiet kind of erosion. That kind of life. You don't notice the pieces you're giving up at first. You think you're just being adaptable, cooperative, likable. But little by little, year after year, you start to disappear. And what's left is this ghost version of you that's always exhausted, always apologizing, always trying to catch up to a version of acceptance that keeps moving just out of reach. Chased so many things thinking they would finally make me feel like I mattered. If I looked the part, dressed the part, worked harder than everyone else, smiled at the right times, knew the right people, then I'd belong. Then the ache would stop, then I could exhale. But here's the hard truth. None of it worked. Belonging isn't something you can force. It's not a trophy for good behavior. And when you spend your life running toward people or titles or versions of yourself that weren't built for you, you don't find peace, you just get better at pretending. If you're tired, if you're questioning everything you thought would make you feel whole, if you're wondering why you still feel out of place no matter what you do, this is for you. I've wasted decades chasing things that were never mine to begin with. And maybe, just maybe, sharing those regrets can help you reclaim a little more of yourself, because you don't need to keep running. You were never too much. You were never not enough. You were just looking for home in places that didn't know how to hold you. I used to think that if I could just earn someone's approval, I'd finally be okay. Not just okay, safe, loved, seen, wanted. And so, I became an expert in the art of pleasing people who never really took the time to understand me. It wasn't that they hated me. That would have been simpler. It was worse. They tolerated me on certain conditions. Smile more. Don't talk about that. Don't be too intense. Be easy. Be digestible. I spent years twisting myself into versions of pleasant, chill, and acceptable just to be invited to the table. I remember one friendship in particular. Every time I walked away from being with her, I felt smaller. Like I had to shrink, just to stay in her orbit. She never directly insulted me. It was more like slow erosion. Backhanded compliments. Quick glances of disapproval when I got too excited. Silence when I shared something vulnerable. I kept trying to win her over, to impress her, to be enough. She didn't see me, not really. And I don't think she ever intended to, but I stayed. Because being tolerated felt better than being alone. You don't realize the damage. It does, until you're standing in the mirror wondering why your smile looks so fake and why your laughter has an echo of sadness. That's what happens when your worth is tied to people who can't or won't reflect it back. You learn to perform affection instead of experiencing it. Approval is a dangerous drug. It feels like love, but it's not. Love doesn't ask you to audition. Love doesn't flinch when you cry or disappear when you speak your truth. If someone can only love the version of you that keeps them comfortable, it's not love. It's convenience, the hardest part, letting them go. Not because you hate them, but because you finally decided to love yourself more than their version of you. That's the moment you stop begging to be seen and start seeing yourself clearly. Maybe for the first time. I spent so many years chasing a version of success that wasn't even mine. I didn't question it. I just followed the blueprint like a good student. Go to school, Get the degree, get the job, climb the ladder, smile, be grateful. Keep moving, make money, impress strangers. Call it happiness. And for a while, it worked on the outside. People congratulated me. My resume looked good. My LinkedIn profile was polished. I had a title, a role, a reputation, but inside, I was numb. It's a strange thing to make it and still feel like a fraud. Because when your success is built on other people's dreams, it doesn't matter how high you climb. You're not there. You're just lost in a nicer suit. I remember sitting in a meeting once, surrounded by people who were smarter, louder, more ambitious. They were talking about numbers and goals and quarterly targets with fire in their eyes. And I sat there thinking, is this it? Is this what I traded my joy for? I had abandoned so much to get there. Hobbies, rest, curiosity. I gave up mornings to commute to jobs I hated. I said no to trips, family dinners, even my health, all for a career that I thought would finally make me feel enough. But it didn't, because the truth is you can't outsource your definition of success. What lights someone else up might not work for you. And chasing their version won't bring you closer to yours. It'll just make you tired and disconnected from your own spirit. Now, I measure success differently. Peace, health, time, the freedom to be myself, conversations that move me. Work, that means something. Not work that just looks good. You don't have to burn out just to prove you're worthy. You don't have to achieve your way into self-respect. You already have the right to exist fully, joyfully, even if your version of success makes no sense to the crowd. It's wild how easily we become a reflection of what's popular without even realizing we've stopped being ourselves. I'm not just talking about fashion, though I've definitely bought shoes that hurt just because they were in. I'm talking about the deeper trends, the ones that shape how we speak, what we post, what we pretend to care about. I've followed trends that told me what to eat, what to watch, how to heal, how to be spiritual, how to be desirable. I've posted pictures with filters I didn't even like just because everyone else looked perfect and I didn't want to stand out for the wrong reason. I once spent weeks trying to develop a skincare routine because apparently, if I didn't have glowing skin by 7 a.m., I was somehow failing at adulthood. I've forced myself into books, conversations, and even political opinions that didn't align with my values because I was afraid of being left behind. Trends are seductive. They whisper, if you just follow this, you'll finally belong. You'll finally be seen, admired, wanted. But here's the catch. The moment you catch up, the trend has already moved on. You're chasing a finish line that keeps running away. And somewhere along the way, you forget what you actually like. What actually matters to you. I got tired of being a chameleon. Tired of buying things I didn't need. Tired of pretending I understood the hype around something just because everyone else was obsessed. I realized I had turned myself into a walking collage of other people's preferences and lost touch with my own. These days, I try to ask one simple question. Do I actually like this? Or do I just not want to be excluded? It's a powerful filter. It's helped me say no to things that don't align and say yes to things that actually light me up, even if they're not trending. You're not weird for standing out. You're not behind because you didn't jump on the latest train. You're just becoming someone real. And nothing goes out of style faster than fake. Some of the loneliest moments in my life were spent in a room full of people, smiling, laughing, taking photos, playing the role, and still feeling completely invisible. I used to think that being in a relationship, any relationship, meant I was doing okay, that I mattered, that I had a place. Whether it was friendships, partnerships, or even family bonds, I clung to the idea that being chosen meant I was worthy. But I wasn't really chosen, not for me. I was chosen because I filled a role, because I looked good on someone's arm, because I didn't ask for too much, because I kept secrets, kept the peace, kept my voice down. I've been in relationships that were curated for Instagram and carefully maintained for public perception. From the outside, they looked warm, intimate, real, but on the inside, it was cold. We weren't connecting. We were maintaining. I remember one romantic relationship that looked like a dream. People used to say, "You two are perfect together." And I believed them because I needed to. Because the alternative was admitting that we barely knew each other beneath the surface smiles and weekend plans. We didn't fight. We didn't challenge each other. We didn't grow. We just posed. And I stayed because I thought, if it looks good, it must be good. But you can only live in a staged photo for so long before the walls start to collapse. And when they did, I had to admit to myself, I was more committed to the image of connection than the reality of intimacy. Real relationships require truth, not performance. They ask for vulnerability, not perfection. And when I finally let go of the ones built on convenience, expectation, or image, I started to taste something new. Something deeper. It wasn't flashy, but it was honest. And that honesty, that's where real belonging begins. I've spent a lot of time apologizing for who I am before anyone even asked me to. Made myself smaller so I wouldn't take up too much space. I softened my words so I wouldn't offend. I told jokes instead of truths because it was easier than sitting in silence that made people uncomfortable. I was constantly scanning. Am I too much right now? Am I being too emotional? Too opinionated? Too real? Somewhere along the line, I internalized the idea that being fully me was a bit too intense for people. So I trimmed the edges. I watered myself down. I learned the art of smiling while bleeding, and people liked me that way. I was agreeable. I was nice. I was palatable. But I was also disappearing. Do you know what it's like to hear someone compliment you and feel sadness instead of pride? Because deep down, you know they're not praising you. They're praising the version of you that you've curated for their comfort. It's exhausting. And over time, it chips away at your sense of self. Until one day, you wake up and don't recognize your own voice. You don't know what you believe anymore, or what you want, or even what you feel because you've been performing for so long. You forgot how to simply be. I wish someone had told me earlier, you don't have to make yourself easier to love. You don't have to dilute your joy or dull your pain. The people who are meant for you will meet you where you are, not where you shrink down to. I stopped apologizing for taking up space. I stopped editing myself for approval. And slowly, I began to reconnect with the parts of me I'd buried for the sake of peace. I started letting those parts speak again, laugh again, breathe again, and the wildest thing happened. Some people drifted, but others, real ones, drew closer. Not because I was easy, but because I was real. This one might be the most painful lie I believed, that I had to earn belonging, that I had to prove myself, be good enough, do more, give more, be more. That only when I reached a certain standard of behavior, appearance, success, worthiness, then I'd finally deserve to feel included, seen, and safe. I carried that lie everywhere. Into friendships, into family, into work, even into moments of stillness where I couldn't even rest without guilt, because somewhere inside I was always whispering, "You haven't earned this yet." I wore masks not because I liked them, but because I thought I needed them. I showed up to rooms where I didn't feel wanted and tried harder. I gave people the best parts of me, hoping they'd let me stay, and it never worked. Not really, because belonging isn't a transaction. It's not something you perform your way into. It's not a prize you win for being flawless. Belonging is the quiet knowing that you don't have to fight to exist. It's the space where your presence isn't questioned, where your silence is understood, where your truth is safe. I had to unlearn so much. I had to stop seeing myself as a project that needed constant improvement just to be acceptable. I had to sit with the discomfort of being fully myself, without the safety net of pretending. I had to walk away from people who only valued the version of me that made their lives easier. And in doing that, I found something priceless, a soft place to land inside my own heart. When you stop trying to earn belonging, you start living from a place of truth. And in that truth, you discover that the people who love you won't need you to audition. They'll just be grateful that you showed up. For a long time, I thought I had ruined my life, not in a dramatic, cinematic kind of way. No, my ruin was quiet, subtle, a slow drift away from myself, one compromise at a time. I thought I had wasted too many years chasing the wrong things, loving the wrong people, showing up in the wrong rooms. I thought I had lost who I was, but now I see it differently. I wasn't lost. I was becoming someone who no longer begs to be seen. Someone who no longer contorts themselves for a seat at a table that was never meant for them. Someone who understands now that real belonging has nothing to do with appearance, performance, or applause. It's taken me a lifetime to realize that. Everything I chased, approval, success, beauty, acceptance, a sense of home, was never about those things at all. What I really wanted was to feel like I mattered. What I really craved was a kind of love that didn't flinch when I was messy. A kind of peace that didn't ask me to earn it. And the cruelest part? I thought I had to go outside of myself to find it. But the truth is, everything I was looking for was waiting inside me the whole time. Covered in layers of shame, fear, comparison, and exhaustion, but still there. Still mine. So if you're watching this and you feel like you're behind, if you've been told you're too much or not enough or too hard to love, if you've spent years trying to become palatable, presentable, impressive, desirable, please hear this. You are not a mistake. You are not a burden. You are not lost. You're just remembering. And maybe you had to chase the wrong things just to figure out what was right. Maybe you had to break your own heart to learn how to protect it. Maybe you had to sit at tables where you were never fed just to realize you could build your own. You didn't waste your life. You lived it messily, beautifully, bravely. And now you get to do something even more powerful. Come home to yourself. No more shrinking. No more pretending. No more chasing things that crumble the moment you touch them. The version of you that you've been trying to find, it's not out there. It's not someone you have to become. It's someone you've always been underneath all the noise. So let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment you stop running and start returning. You're not too late. You're right on time. And maybe, just maybe, the life you've been searching for isn't something you need to chase anymore. It's the one waiting quietly for you to choose it. As you are, no masks, no apologies, just you, finally fully home.